All right, so let's wait maybe another 2 minutes, right?
Yes, you can wait for a while.
Maybe some more people join. Okay, then I will start sharing my screen. Maybe if some more people join, like, okay. First of all, do you see my screen?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool. Anyway, so I hope that you can also hear me without any problem, right? All right, then, okay, let's get started. So I'll repeat myself, like, can you hear myself? Can you hear me without any issues?
Yes, we can.
Cool. Let's start then. So, okay, today I want to present you something very important, in my opinion. This presentation will be on mainly how to apply for ML position to companies. So by companies, I mean like companies that want to deploy ML architectures and companies that are going to be using mainly deep learning in some forms or another. So I want to make some disclaimers first. First of all, like I will present you some information. So it's related to my job, and I want to make a disclaimer that this presentation is not related to my job, and I don't get paid for presenting this in any form, and this is fully my personal incentive, and I don't encourage lying, false representation, and any action contradicting work ethics. Main goal of these slides: do not share any corporate information and policies, and all information presented are publicly available. So also, I discourage you from trying to reference these slides in official documents. Maybe you are doing some projects and you want to cite something, and don't cite this presentation. I ask you. So, um, after this is set up, I can actually start presenting. So I'll give you some advices, and please take it with a grain of salt. Like it's also like opinionated because nothing is really, exact. If it was like really easy to get a job in machine learning, then I wouldn't be even here, right? So Let's get started. So first of all, about me, I graduated from Nazarbayev University in 2018. I worked mainly as a research assistant before my current job. Currently, I work in Japan in a company called ZMP. ZMP is acronym for Zero Moment Point. You can research like on my company and everything, but you'll understand like reference what is ZMP. But yeah, so I work as a software engineer. I developed algorithms related to computer vision, robot perception, to be specific, for autonomous driving. So let me show you a little bit about like what we are trying to develop in ZMP. So you can see these slides. Actually, sound is not really matter, like, but what you are seeing is like this is a small autonomous robot that can transport people. So we want to integrate this system with like current ecosystem of Tokyo, and there are like a lot of job to be done. So I wanna maybe, yeah. So sorry, but I want to give your focus on this place. Yep. So what you actually see is this one is a 3D LiDAR. So our robot is equipped with LiDAR camera and many other regular RGB cameras. And practically what's important is like we want to create a robot that can sense its environment and operate in 3D world without any issue. So fully autonomous driving. No human assistance, no external control, so no remote operators. So if you want to learn about it, like why I mention this, because some companies actually who claim to be autonomous driving are not really autonomous driving. So yeah, we are trying to achieve full autonomous driving. So yeah.
おはようございます。こんにちは。こんにちは。
So yeah, robot actually can recognize humans around it, like, and interact with humans. It also can detect traffic lights and can pass traffic lights without any additional information. So practically, it can walk around the
左に曲がります。
city without any additional help.
こんにちは。
Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about the problems of deploying this type of system in the real world, and what you should be aware of what's happening. Because I mean, of course, it looks really easy, right? Like this robot is doing all this stuff by itself. Wow, must be nice. So there are some issues we actually want to resolve in terms of perception, and these issues are not easy. So One of the issues that actually you want to robot be able to do without any supervision is, for example, semantic segmentation. What does it mean? It's actually try to understand, okay, this is a road, and these are like other machines, humans, traffic signs, traffic lights, some interactive places. There are like also some requirements to actually detect, soft objects from hard objects. It gets really, really hard, and there are so many edge cases that no human possibly can make a algorithm that can trespass through all these cases, like without any issue. Um, of course, there are also like issues with, like perception of other like people about the. There are like legitimate concerns about safety, about like trustworthiness of these systems. Um, and we are actually trying to first resolve these issues, like trying to make people believe the system actually can work without any additional help, and you cannot worry about your safety. So there is also an issue, for example, pose estimation. Like this might be, okay, uh, you may be seen like a lot of cool visualization of pose estimation before, but uh, the point is like we want to be able to track humans, and we want to do that quite accurately. Why? Because you don't want to hit anyone while driving in full AD, and in Tokyo, for example, there are so many humans. You can go outside, like, and maybe you catch just looking, gazing into some streets, find yourself like counting maybe 100 people just walking in the same place. So, and of course, all these computations are not supposed to be done like in some storage place or some cloud computing, because if there is no internet, robot gets stuck, and you cannot make a business if robot doesn't move, right? Like, because doesn't move means like safe until there is connection to the internet. No, you want to be able to make a product that doesn't stop, doesn't do any issue, doesn't get stuck in any issues, doesn't violate traffic laws. Also, it makes smart decisions. In some cases, like it might be something simple like crossing the traffic light on time. One of the quite funny things that we actually realized that, okay, you try to deploy this robot, and it gets stuck on a green light. It doesn't move on a green light, and people sitting on this robot gets really, really mad because they practically feel like this robot is wasting their time. This happened a lot. Um, so why you want to stop on a green light? Because you don't want to cross it, start crossing, and if it turns red light, then you are violating traffic law, right? So you want to make sure that you have enough time to cross on a green light. This is like simple issues. Another issue is like detection and tracking. So this is also really hard. So what we found, like um, detecting a lot of cars, especially like some environments. In Tokyo, for example, there are not many cars, but car drivers also, because there are not many cars, they can be quite confident. In some cases, they even break the laws, and they can get away with it because there is no problem. Like normally humans make more errors. It's like de facto fact that humans make more errors, and that's like more reason to actually try to develop autonomous driving cars, because then like humans, you don't need people who claim to be really good drivers, but in reality they are not. And you try to deploy like autonomous driving car. Now you have to not only present that autonomous driving cars are better, so that's not simply enough. Even if you, for example, make sure that autonomous driver cars make 90% less compared to humans errors, it's not going to be enough. You want to create like much better, because humans have certain expectations. And I mean, like, also humans like driving, right? And if you are saying, okay, you shouldn't drive and then make it a robot drive, then you have to make like bold statement. So just want to give you like some issues. So detection and tracking, like tracking, especially cars, bicycles, like fast moving objects is a super hard issue, especially if you are trying to do it like on an autonomous driving robot that has limited resources. So today I will be, I won't be speaking on how to do that, but my focus today is like actually uh, how to get in a company that does similar job. There are like plenty of companies that do really amazing job in machine learning. They are trying to deploy similar systems. And the first tip for you as recent graduates is actually getting into such companies that do hard tasks, right? So first, I will give you some ideas on what kind of errors, common mistakes new graduates do. Then I will present you like, okay, what you can learn before applying to certain companies and how you should learn it maybe. And third, I want to give you like some information about what companies see, right? Like when you apply to certain company and how process inside the company of this deciding of hire comes. Sorry. Can I have 1 second? Okay, give me some 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. So, and lastly, I want to give you some idea like how to prepare your CV or resume so that it looks more or less competitive. So that's a plan for today. And later you can ask me some questions or concerns if you have about like stuff I present you. So all right, let's do it. So first topic is like, well, my job application didn't work very well in machine learning. So, and you might ask why it can happen. So let's count up some errors, common errors. So error number 0, prepare for application properly. Like I think like it's a first sign that you don't even get into interview. You don't apply properly. It might sound like quite funny how someone cannot apply properly, but actually almost half of our applicants are getting rejected because their applications are incorrect in some way or another. So this is a checklist, so you can easily go through it, and you can guarantee that okay, you'll get into interview at least. So yeah, so basics are prepare a CV without grammatical errors. So of course, if you have some problems in your CV, then it means like okay, you didn't pay attention of like you are wasting our time. No reason to continue. Visit the company website and research for information. We had to actually, there was an issue like when some people were completely misunderstanding what we are doing. They didn't even research like what our company did, like didn't get even to interview. Respond to messages from HR politely, like of course. Also, you should show interest. Well, if you don't respond to our messages, completely ignore us, or like don't respond confidently, then sorry, most probably we will have to, practically, we don't want to waste our time, or we don't want to waste your time. Wear appropriate clothes to the interview. This is practically very basic, but I would say like around 20% of all people I interviewed, at least, were not prepared. And do not use casual speech or cursing words during interview. Do not swear. I think like it's pretty forward, right? Like why not? So error number one, make sure that you are eligible to the position mentioned in the job. And this might be quite confusing because what is eligible, right? Like, I mean, some companies claim that, okay, you need to have at least master's degree, but then you hear from your friends, they actually hired person without master's degree, and you're like, oh, like, but their statements was not, you could do that, right? So, but the point is like you should understand like what is the main purpose of certain job position you are applying. So I can give you example. Embedded software developer requirements: C++, Python, 300 something years or in experience of field. Like this type of requirements are always present. So you'd be surprised, like, okay, person who knows how to program in C, C++, and Python and 1 year of experience can easily get the job. But look at this candidate, like, okay, he knows JavaScript, PHP, Angular, knows Python, 5+ year work in production. Like, why he could possibly get rejected, right? The point is that job position is actually embedded software developer, right? And this candidate is definitely not embedded software developer. He is web developer. And you should understand, like, okay, if you are web developer and you are applying for embedded software developer, you should present something that's related to embedded software developer that we could consider such candidate and assess his embedded software development qualities, right? Like if you are applying for this job position, then this mentioning this in your CV is practically useless because they are sort of not related. So yeah, like you can actually so don't take this like straightforward. My point is not that JavaScript and PHP or Angular cannot be related to embedded software development, but the point is like you should realize that there might be like some specifics that are necessary for specific job title. So sometimes I see like person claim, okay, I know C++. So this is what I expect a person who claims that he knows C++ to know. Actually, these are like main stuff that C++ developers are required. Of course, like if you are programming in C++, it means like you want to get like some high performance computing in many cases. Not always. Sometimes you want person to develop C++ program for another reasons, but in many cases, like it's actually about developing something that works really smoothly. And of course, you would like to hire somebody who is familiar with C++ in a level that's like there are some people who program in C, and they see that, okay, C++ is very similar to C, and they start programming like, practically not properly learn C++. If you want to actually learn a little bit about it, so there is actually YouTube lectures about C++. You can go through it if you'd like to learn about C++, but yeah, it's another topic. Error number 2. You should actually put your best and valid points in a CV. So it's like, if you are also, you should actually prepare your CV for a specific company. Yeah, sometimes you can actually, prepare one CV and apply to several companies, but you should realize like, okay, job position you are applying and what might be more important, what you need to highlight for this case specifically, and it's actually worth it. I can give you an example. This is Mike. Mike is a good software developer. Mike did following. He learned TensorFlow tutorials, basic and mixed image classifier, Coursera specialization on deep learning, and he decided to put, okay, I know deep learning, and he put it on his CV. Don't be like Mike. Why? Because, of course, if you are claiming that you know deep learning, then you should actually be able to deploy models and do something more than basic tutorials. And this type of things happen a lot, like really a lot. Or for example, similarly, people can claim they know C++, but when you ask them questions, they're like, I didn't know that. This happens a lot. So make sure that you are confident in your skills if you want to put it in a skill set in your CV or resume. And also like some cases, for example, if you are applying for a position that doesn't need deep learning, right? Why would you put it? Like, for example, let's say you are going to do like a web design, right? Sometimes I see people like putting like, okay, I know deep learning. So, and they get asked questions about deep learning, even though they applied for, like web development position that might not require this skill set. So be careful about the stuff you present on your CV. I'll give you more information about that later, but yeah. Third error I see a lot is like research your company. And this is like the most important part, I think, that recent graduates, they never research about companies. I understand like mainly because, recent graduates don't know what to expect from company. And I would like to give you some stuff you should actually always think about when you are applying to certain companies. This might be really important for you later when you get hired into company, and then you face troubles. So, should you care about company reputation? So this is like a recent article I've seen. So you might already realize what's going on. So yeah, Facebook is doing a lot of nasty stuff, and they're getting away with it. And the people really don't like it. So a lot of people also like leaving the Facebook as a platform. Another case of violating some sort of situations, human rights maybe, and they also big companies claiming that other big companies do that too, then they are allowed to do it, or yep. So big companies get like a lot of issues like with reputations, and the point is like when you are applying to big companies, yeah, not all big companies are saint. They had their own issues in the past, maybe like they had some issues in the present, but they still get a lot of hires. The reason why is like they pay a lot, and so you should actually know, if you want to get like paid a lot, right? And you want to work for a devil, at least you should know like your price. And for that case, like researching about the reputation of the company might be really, really helpful for you. So also, why should you care? In some cases, like people do really bad things with deep learning. Is especially, it's really easy to use something really stupid to do something even more stupid. So this was one of the articles. So what they actually did, like, is they trained face detection model to identify if person they are looking at is a criminal. This is not recognition of criminals. Don't get me wrong. They were actually trying to say that some people have a face of a criminal. Practically, they are born to be criminals. and it can be seen in their face. So they just got the mugshots of different people, and they were like, okay, is this person a criminal? And of course, of course, like they got something like 95% accuracy on their data set, and they were like claiming, okay, it's possible. Or another case, like this was another shocking news, like when people were claiming, okay, these face detection models can actually recognize if certain human like have, are they gay or not, right? I think like they did it mainly on males, and they got like 91% accuracy. Um, and they were claiming, okay, you can identify gay people just by looking at their face, practically. Um, and another issue that I've seen recently, like maybe not like GitHub Copilot. So what they did, they trained all of their models in repositories that are not publicly available. So practically they train it like on all repositories in GitHub, available to public or not. And then what happened is, like, of course, some repositories, they have, claim for, okay, they are not copyright free repositories, right? And they put like copyrights, and people figured out, okay, GitHub Copilot sometimes creates these copyrights text, and you can realize, okay, this model was actually trained on such, let's say, repositories in GitHub. And people were like mad because, practically, also GitHub Copilot is not free. So they are actually making money out of other people's job, practically. So, of course, this type of situations you should be aware of, especially like if you are applying for big companies. So yes, companies need you more than you need them, actually. Like, believe it or not, like the real reason why companies have actual value is because they have people. And it's really, hard to change your attention from companies and its values to yourself, to think of yourself as something valuable. But remember, if you are applying to a company, you should know, okay, you have more values than you think. And yes, this might be important because when you are applying, you should bargain, and you have a solid reason to why you should bargain, because you are the person who will bring value to company, and it's not vice versa. And number 4, prepare for interview. In many cases in machine learning, it's not coding in interviews. There is not much you can do, like in terms of coding. And what ML interview looks like? Well, so practically, you need to know terminology. You need to know like why something works instead of like how to make it work. So yeah, we get it. Like some people know, like, okay, if you put this batch normalization into your network, it gives you some increase in accuracy. If you put dropout L2 normalization, it can help whatever. But if you don't really understand why you need this, then there is a problem, because that's like what you get paid for, right? To design networks that can actually like perform really well, and you should understand why. So if you are not asking like why questions, then you should actually start asking why. So yeah, of course, the stuff you mentioned on your CV and the work you've done previously before applying to company should be relevant to the company needs. For example, of course, this didn't happen to me, but if somebody applied to me and I see that this guy did something like, well, natural language processing, I wouldn't even interview him, because, well, yeah, I know that this man maybe knows his field, right? But his field is absolutely irrelevant to my field and what he can bring to the company. And we don't have maybe any projects related to natural language processing, and so of course I wouldn't even consider it for perception. So these are like some simple errors people do a lot. And of course, the last one is like ask questions. When you are applying to company, you should ask questions. And why? Because, well, first of all, this is one of my favorite quotes. Judge a man by his questions rather than his answers. So because like sometimes what person asks tells him about him more than what he says. Company doesn't know you, and the whole reason like why you need to have this interview process and the application process is because company doesn't know you. If we knew like you easily, like maybe in future it becomes like much easier, but currently we need this application process, and main our goal is like to know you, and also we don't know what you know, which means like we have no idea how did you get the information about the company. We have no information about like what you are interested, what you are motivated, like what makes you motivated, right? And what you like. Maybe you just uh, get hyped with the stuff you read about the company on the internet, but after you start working, you start slacking off because you don't like what you do. And of course, you have no idea about the company too, because I mean, how would you know that, right? I mean, you have to work. Maybe in some cases, there are some situations when people have internship in company and they have some idea about what company does, but these are rare cases. In many cases, you don't know anything about company and its policies and the internal structure. And the moral of the story, it's kind of awkward situation. Like I think interview process is sort of going in a date every time, like meeting new people, and sometimes you are like trying to find like, okay, is this person is good or not? Like in my perspective, is like it's hella awkward situation. It's like both of you don't know like what you are expecting from each other, and it can be really complicated. So yeah, so these are like simple mistakes that practically guarantee you to get into interview. So second part, I want to a little bit talk about how you learn about machine learning and what you do in order to learn machine learning and how you can actually increase your skill set. Why do I want you to increase your skill set? But mainly because machine learning is like super easy to apply for different cases, and it says like if you have only two, it's like if it's your only tool, then you try to solve any problem with machine learning, and in many cases it doesn't work well. So first of all, I want to speak about how to deploy models. Model deployment is like active research, and it's quite complicated process, and it's not easy. So this is classical idea. What you do is like you get some data, you process it, you train some model, you put it into some model registry, like where you have all your models, and these models are served like maybe from cloud storage or on the device. Like the point is like it's straightforward, right? Practically waterfall um, development cycle, but it doesn't work. So instead, what people actually started doing, they actually started to do something called machine learning ops tools, or ML ops otherwise. Why? Because what you actually want to get is not just deploy a model, but you want to actually make sure that this model starts working better and better And this involves actually getting data, making a model, verifying that model is working, and the packaging, releasing, configuring, monitoring, then like cycling through it. Maybe you don't need to get more data, but just improve it. So the point is like sometimes you might get additional data and just you want your pipeline to be able to just train the model with additional data without any additional work. So this part is quite like what machine learning ops actually presents. And this is the schematics of machine learning ops. So it's divided into two parts. So one part is actually like this is development cycle. So same as above, like what you do, you actually try to make a analysis, you create a source code, you make a resource repositories, and then you make packages. But deployment is like, you see this all information flow, right? Should be automated. You don't want to actually every time do this manually yourself. And you want this pipeline sometimes create new data and train the models by itself without additional, like additional influence here. So this is very important. So there are like a lot of stuff you need to know. Like, okay, there are so many different platforms you can research it. So all you need to know like is machine learning ops is like hot topic right now, and you should actually research it and get like some knowledge. I especially recommend to learn about data version control. Another stuff I want to actually pay attention is like ML flow and the Docker. Docker is like, I think, quite popular right now. So just research it. And the cloud, I don't think like you'll be able to learn about it if you don't work, because they are quite expensive to do. So you can try some stuff yourself. So some skills that you might actually develop that might be really important. So also pay attention to what we want from machine learning people. So in many cases, is actually related to analyzing data rather than training the model, because creating models are quite easy, but making sure that these models work on your data is quite hard. So just saying that this is like the most time-consuming part of any deployment process. So understanding the data and understanding like what is in the data and what is not is really important part. So if you want to do like computer vision, I added like some stuff that you need to know. So this might be really important. So I recommend this book. You can, I think, like find it in a library at Nazarbayev University. If you are interested, you can also find it on the internet. It's quite popular. So some basic ideas here are, you can see it like everywhere. So also some interesting, let's say, models that you need to know. Like it's you only look once. I think like everyone should know if you want to work on computer vision. This is like really important. Residual networks and mobile nets. These are like classic stuff. I expect like everyone who applied to computer vision know at least something about this. Natural language processing, of course, like you should be aware about the classical transformer networks and the paper about GPT. Also BERT is like bidirectional transformers. And also you need to actually know a little bit about Hugging Faces. Hugging Faces is like the most currently popular platform to deploy natural language processing systems, I think. So just saying like you should be aware of about this. In reinforcement learning, of course, there are like a lot of research slides, but with reinforcement learning it's quite hard because I haven't seen like quite good models actually in deployment. And I don't think like currently reinforcement learning is like ripe enough to be deployed. So in many cases, if you want to do reinforcement learning, it's going to be a research but in the future, if you want to actually work in reinforcement learning, so at some point it becomes good enough, right? So you should know this if you want to apply. So yeah. And unsupervised learning, this might sound very strange, but currently unsupervised learning is quite popular. So yeah, especially this year, I've seen at least 5 papers that were like really, really good. And you should pay attention on unsupervised learning. It might be a really good skill set that you might have in your CV if you are working in machine learning, because unsupervised learning means like if you have, for example, a lot of data, right? You are like saving your company from additional expenses for labeling it. And believe me, it's something that we pay attention a lot. So also make some projects for yourself. Yeah, Kaggle challenges are like the easiest way to actually develop some really nice CV. If you are participating in it and you have some results, like it does really good. It does look really good on your CV. Also, recreate some popular research works and put it in your GitHub. Manage your GitHub accounts. Follow state-of-the-art works. You should actually research your field and specialize. The main point is like, don't try to be, don't try to specialize like on everything. You have to choose something that you want to work on. For example, it might be computer vision, it might be reinforcement learning, as I said, or natural language processing. Don't mix them up. In many cases, like you would prefer somebody who knows one field much better than like know little bit about different many fields. So try to specialize. Like it's my recommendation actually. Like maybe you'll gain some additional knowledge if you learn about all this stuff. But in general, like people prefer specialization. So, and the exercise, by the way, what do you think this algorithm does? Who can guess like the fastest? You can hear me? Anyone?
Yes.
So, what do you think this algorithm does?
Markov model.
Okay. I think like you can see, you can actually, I can give you a hint. So this line might be like a really good hint for you if you want. So any idea now? Like,
It chooses the employee.
okay, this class is actually worker is just a threaded implementation. So what it does is actually, you can see the plus, minus, division, star, right? And it selects some of one of these operations randomly. And then it tries to create an equation from these numbers that can end up with a result that's equal to 1,400. So it just generates different, let's say, equations that result into 1,400. That's it. So the point is like sometimes like this type of questions might be might you might get this type of questions in the interview, and you should be able to actually analyze the code. In many cases, this is really important skill to understand the code and answer like, okay, what this code does. So exercise actually, there are many ways you can exercise. I recommend like going to lead code and solving their challenges. In many cases, really nice if you learn how to do that. Yeah, solving problems and like it might be funny, but yes, even if you are applying in machine learning, you need to know how to write effective algorithms. Why? Because it's much better if person writes clean and effective algorithms from the very start, and you don't want to go through research process with him and explain like, okay, this doesn't work faster, so let's do something, right? Like, and you don't want to spend like months on some trivial problems. So problem solving skills are quite valuable. And okay, now I will give you some examples of like how in the companies we decide to hire person or not. And this is actually straightforward and it's not complicated, but I think like it gives you some understanding like what you should do. Like if you actually try to look at the company hire process from the right angle. So think of it as a zero-sum game, actually. Like, so there are employees, right? For example, in my case, I would say like, so, okay, there are a company who wants to get a best candidate because best candidates actually will improve company value, and the new applicants want to look competitive. So what I mean by look competitive, they might not be actually like that much competitive, but if they get hired, then it's good for them, right? Like if you get hired to a company without like putting additional effort, it's a best case scenario. But and you want to fool the company, and the company wants to actually distinguish good candidates from bad candidates. Company also wants to fool employees that they are worthy. What do I mean? Because like practically any company is also selling itself to employees and giving them like some sort of promises that if they get hired by this company, then they will be successful, they will get a lot of money, and etc etc etc. So, and the new applicants want to get hired by a good company. Of course, you want to apply to good company, right? That has a really nice reputation and it has actually gives you like good salary. That's what you want. And of course, you should understand the company. I can give you example like why you should understand your company. So I'm a applicant interviewer. So I interview people, right? Like, and I look at certain things. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not a HR. I'm actually a regular engineer, but I have to work with HR so that we can actually hire somebody who knows the field. And the HR people are not good at it. So I am a specialist. I have to work with them and be involved in the process, like of hiring, like, and I want to actually. I'm really tired of seeing same mistakes, right? Like, how many people already get hired? I think like plus. I mean, how many people got applied? Something like maybe 100 plus people apply, and it's quite every year. I mean, and it's quite like you don't want to waste your time on this because I have my own mistakes that I want to actually fix, and I want to get hire. I want to hire colleagues that are pleasant to work. So because I mean I have opportunity to choose which colleagues I have, right? So I want to get like not only professionals, but also we do look into personality. And believe me or not, like it might be really important. There were several cases when we had to reject like person who has some skills because of their personality. Don't get me wrong, like it's not like they were like just somehow, you know, I don't know, like unconventional, but this was actually troubling cases when candidates were like mentioning that they would fight if there is some problems, and we're like, okay, we don't want to hire him. So sometimes it's important. In many cases, like majority of people have really nice personality, so it's like really good if you want to present your personality too during the interview. So which means you don't want to get situation when you are completely frozen and cannot speak, for example. And I don't want to spend time training new graduates. So because like new graduates is actually when somebody new applies to company, it's like investment you make. As a company, you invest in these people, and you want to train them so that they in future can actually continue working and contributing. And like the less training you want to you will be doing, it's better. So, for example, you don't want to like teach everything from scratch, but at the same time, like you still have to teach person, like so you will be teaching new graduates anyway. So in some cases, like I would prefer new graduates because it's much easier to teach new graduates new things than like somebody who's already experienced and he might don't want to change his opinion about some stuff. Like new graduates are flexible, but at the same time, you don't want to teach him like a lot, so that maybe you are teaching him like 1 year long, and he's still learning and he's still not contributing or contributing very little. And the third, I need to make sure that a new person brings value to company. And yes, during the hire process, like um, you know sometimes some companies actually have the system when they can bring their friends and say, okay, this my friend is like a really good specialist, and if you do that in some companies, you get paid for bringing new specialists to the company. um, so which means actually there is companies, they want to pay if you bring somebody who brings value to company. Increasing value of the company, like yes, you get paid for that. And of course, why I'm in a application interview is because practically I get paid for hiring really good specialists, and I want to get better at it because it means like I get more money, right? So anyway, um, case one, it's a rejection. So imagine that there is like some guy called Alan, and he's a new graduate. Did some. He mentions he's like doing some work related to face detection. He does mention his GPA. He has like 2 projects in GitHub. He mentioned in CV, and he applied to robotics company with no prior experience in robotics. And in online interview, he attended interview from phone at home with background noise, like really bad case. Like he's wearing a t-shirt, he didn't shave, he doesn't not understand what company does actually. This is the case what happened to me actually. Like such applicant, um, I had such applicant, and he got into interview. So which means like he was doing some stuff right. um, but like it was quite not a funny case when person has zero understanding like what your company does, and you're like you don't want to uh, if you hire this person, maybe he doesn't like what he's doing in the company at some point. Yes, he might have some experience, but also, like there are some stuff that are troubling, like he doesn't state his GPA, so maybe his GPA is low, like even though like he might be really skilled, but it sort of brings attention, and this doesn't look good, let's say, and you have to reject it. This type of applicant, you have to reject it. Here is another case. This is a new graduate, states her GPA, did master in machine learning, excellent portfolio in GitHub, full description of her project. So excellent portfolio is actually, if you want to make a portfolio, you want to make repositories that have actually description of what this repository does, not just like some code without any description. So if you want to put your CV into your GitHub into your CV, then you have to actually explain like what you do in your repositories. So she does have that. She published some papers in face recognition application that was done for security robotics company, online interview, well prepared, asking questions. But maybe she has some outdated knowledge on machine learning, right? Because machine learning is moving so fast that some stuff that, you know, um, from 2015, 17, maybe might be already outdated knowledge. And of course, company doesn't want to, like waste such new graduate. And what they can actually present is like, okay, they can give your offer. You can work as an intern and get some experience because she might need like more experience to increase her knowledge. And here's the accepted case. How accepted case looks like. You can actually see from everything starts from resume, like excellent grades, did master in machine learning, like no GitHub, okay, but publish papers on face detection and tracking, so you can actually find these papers. And he applies to stereo camera manufacturing company, online interview, well prepared, asked questions, did research on camera hardware before interview, and made some like effort in order to understand like his application, so he gets accepted. So just to point out, like these are two examples. So but in general, my point is like this type of like basic things actually do improve your chances of getting hired. So you should pay attention more, like on especially how you present your resume and what you put like into your resume and what you did prior. So this type of information might be really important in the hire process. So let's talk about resume and how to write your CV and what you should pay attention. So first thing is like we don't. This point is like why you don't want to use common used latex templates because you want your CV to stand out. Because like when somebody is looking maybe 10 to 15 CVs, you don't really look into much to CVs that use common templates. In many cases, like 20 people out of 30 use standard CV templates, and they don't catch your attentions, and you realize like, okay, these people didn't spend their time to design their CV. Low effort, right? So for example, what I mean like by commonly used latex templates, this is like the most used latex template. Don't use it. If you are using it, just stop right now. Get like another. Or this one, like I've seen this resume maybe at least 15 times. I'm not joking. So don't use it. You can use hyperlinks. In many cases, if you are applying to through online, sending your electronic version of your CV, put hyperlinks. Yes, it's legal. You shouldn't worry about putting hyperlinks in your CV. Make it interactive. If you don't use that, do it. Start using it. So also, when you are mentioning some projects you did, so give some context about the project, especially like first person who looks into these projects are going to be HR. And if you make easier to people who are outside of the field to understand what you did, it's much easier to get into interview like and get like hired in the end. So um, describe what your projects properly. Don't put some terminology that's not easily understandable. Like for example, there are cases when people put like, okay, I worked on BERT with BERT, and you're like, what is BERT, right? So give some context. Okay, I did natural language processing. I did so I trained models that can maybe translate languages to another languages. Some idea of what's going on. So this is, I think, like also good point, like a must have in your CV. Also, ask for review. You know, there is, I'm not sure, like, can somebody correct me if I'm wrong, like, do you still have writing center in Nazarbayev University? Because when I was studying, I did have. Can somebody answer?
Yes, we have.
So, have you worked with writing center? Anyone? So if you didn't consider actually getting your CV done and go to writing center and ask them to help you. I did that actually. It worth it. In many cases, they can help you like correct your CV and correct some errors if you have. So my point is like seek for help, seek for a review of your CV. Like, is it looking good? You don't know like if your CV looks good. So you might actually want to highlight some points that you didn't know very important, and the people who try to apply, you know, in a job position, they might actually give you really nice hints on, like, okay, you need to highlight this. This is more important, put it above, and this is less important, put it below, right? In many cases, these are not something I can actually give you like, okay, if you put this above, it's always good. So you should be really strategic about like what you put first in your CV. Like, for example, in many cases, the recent graduates can put their, okay, first thing they can put like is like their higher education and their GPA. If you have really good GPA, like, of course, this is what you want to put. But let's be honest, like only maybe 10% of people have really good GPA, right? So you don't want to put like your GPA in the first place. You want to put like your projects, and that might be really useful if you want to actually show what you really can present, right? Improve your chances. So yeah. So seek out for help. So now it's a time for questions. I hope that this talk wasn't long enough. So I wanted to actually give you some time so that you can ask for questions, more time. So yeah. Do you have any questions about the field? Anything that interests you?
When you when you presented examples of the people that get accepted and people that get rejected, you accepted only people that had a master's degree. Isn't there any possibility for a baccalaureate to get a job at machine learning?
Okay, this is a great point. Actually, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I don't accept only people who get who have master's degree. So, first of all, I would say, in many cases, we recommend recent graduates to get master's degree. Why? Because master's is like, you know, it's like having some experience on working in your field. Because I know, like, in bachelor, in many cases, you have other classes except your specialty, right? So in computer science, you might need to get some classes in history. But when you do masters, you would be working like all day long, like practically on your field. So this is like really important because then you have expectations, different expectations for master students. However, it's not the case that we always hire people from you know, who have master's degree. I don't have master's degree and I got hired. So does like many of my friends. Actually, like I have friends who got hired into Google, and you know, the way they got hired is actually like they applied straight out of university, and the reason why they got hired because they actually applied for the positions that they were like most confident they would get hired. So in the end, it's not like you get hired only if you do this, right? No. The point is like, my my main point is like, you should do some work in machine learning. You cannot expect that you get hired by doing some simple examples. And in many cases, like you have to research a little bit, and uh, even doing like your personal projects might be valuable asset in your CV. So please, um, try to actually improve your CV by doing additional work and learning this stuff. Uh, yeah. So, did I answer your question?
Yes. I have another question. What is considered as doing research? Like, if I read 3-4 articles about natural language processing or 2 books about it, can I say that I did some research?
Actually, when I say that you did some research, is actually, I mean, you try to recreate these works. I mean, like we don't really care if you really, just read some books, right? What we really want is actually your ability to uh, practically implement it. And in many cases, actually, so what I mean by do research, get some paper. In many cases, it might be some quite easy examples, right? For example, if you want to apply for computer vision, implement YOLO from scratch. Go for it. It's not hard. It takes maybe you a month to implement it from scratch. You can do it like at home, even if you don't have, like expensive GPUs. You can still do it through Google Colab. I've done it like many times. I didn't even have, like good computer back in university. So um, I'm saying like it's not complicated to try to implement these algorithms. And believe me, if you present that you can actually implement it, it's much reliable statement in your CV than just claiming, okay, I know this by reading these papers. So
Thank you for your answer.
yeah. Also, I can give you like example how you can recreate some work. There are a lot of data sets available online. If you go to like TensorFlow, Keras, I think they have a lot of data sets. So don't worry about like maybe you want to do some stuff, but you don't have data set. No, there are like a lot of publicly available data sets. Use them for your cases. And you don't really, like maybe you don't need to have exactly the same results as in the paper, but at least if you get like some level of accuracy, that might be enough.
How many projects does applicant have to have higher chances to get applied for a job?
If you have more than one project that you did, more than one is like reliable number. So in many cases, like you'd increase your chances a lot if you did like maybe 2 or 3 works separate, are not related. The point is like it's very rare cases when applicants have any uh, projects done at all. Like it's quite amazing. Like and it makes like hiring process even worse and really hard. So if you have like many projects, more projects you have, like higher your chances practically. So more than 2, more than 1, more than 2. Yes.
Does difficulty of the project have a role to play?
I would say not difficulty. It's not really about difficulty. I would say about how recent is this work. For example, if you do some work from the maybe like 2012, right? It might be outdated, and it doesn't have like much value right now. So practically anyone can recreate these works. But if you do some work maybe from 2019, 20, 21, practically last 3 years, then that counts as a really good project in your city. Yeah. And some projects are quite easy to implement. You know, there are like some papers that have really decent results that are not that hard to implement. I mentioned YOLO. Actually, YOLO v4 is quite manageable to implement from scratch. I think like you can even do it as a course project in, let's say, image processing course if you want to take it at some point. Yeah. So any other questions? Okay. So you can still ask questions if you want to. All right then. I think if you don't have any much questions, then this is the end of my presentation.
Sorry.
Yes.
I think there are a few questions in the chat.
Oh, okay. Then let me check them. Okay, can you help me? Like, how do you? Okay. Okay, I can answer the question about like if I'm satisfied with my work and the job culture in Japan. Overall, yes, I am satisfied. I think like now after I got hired by company, I understand like hiring process more, and yes, I know like I might actually get into better company. Like in the future, I definitely want to apply to better company, but my current job is like quite satisfying. Uh, I have like really interesting projects. What I think like you should be curious about like job applications in Asia is actually like culture in the company about job process. So my company is like it's categorized as white company. Uh, what does it mean is like in Japan it means like this company is is doing everything legal and they don't have any issues. But there are some companies that actually have issues, especially with overwork. They require your workers to do overtime work, and you should be aware of that, and you should actually check that if company requires like this type of environment. It's not like that humans here people here overwork by themselves or they are like intrinsically workaholic. In many cases it's company actually makes it such requirements. So yeah. Okay, another question about Japan closed borders for students. I'm actually curious about myself. Like there are not many official statements. So I think like as people, so currently, like with the pandemic, uh, Japan is, I think like close these borders. But I think like maybe next summer, they will already like make it easier. So because majority of people got already vaccinated, and I don't really think like why they would would want to keep borders closed. So yeah, maybe by the next summer. Do you think that major robotics prepared you well for your career at machine learning industry, or other major could be picked for this career? Okay, this is a great question, actually. Answer to that is no. Actually, I think my major in robotics didn't prepare me well enough for this job position. Yes, I do work in a robotics company, and I think like for other stuff, like except my work, I was prepared quite good. So robotics company, if you are applying for as a robotics student, yes, um, it's well designed course. But as a machine learning, I think like not really. So we had actually course in machine learning in my fourth year, and I can guarantee you that all the information in that course I had like in 2018 at least is outdated. Nothing from that course is relevant anymore. I'm not sure like if they decided to add more stuff in that course recently. So I'm not aware like what is the status of that right now. Maybe they improved the course, but if it's the same course and the same like ideas concepts, then no. Um, so you might know like a lot of stuff changed like in past 4 years. So yeah.
Come, coming back to the chart of technologies, you showed that where that required in the machine learning. Can you recommend more technologies that are commonly used in the companies, like the data version control and Docker?
See, so your question is about specific skill set for companies, right? I would say you can actually research on it. So machine learning ops tools. So if you have questions like on what is DevOps, DevOps is actually development cycle of software in the companies. In many companies, they use some agile software development. So you might learn about it if you take the course on software engineering, I think, like in computer science class. So it's very useful. Like, so the point is like nobody develops software like a waterfall. So you don't, wait until you get into very bottom. What you want to do, you want to develop software in cycles and then releases so that you can get feedback from people and improve it. So for that, like in machine learning, you want to do the same. So what you want to do, you don't want to deploy the model and look how this model is practically useless in the real world. What you want to actually achieve is that, okay, you deploy the first version of your model and practically you check, okay, is this model is working in the real world, and then update it and improve it and make it better with several iterations. In many cases, it might be like 10 or 15 iterations before you actually achieve some required results. So yeah, so just try to research it. There are like many tools you can use. I recommend to research on, first of all is the containerization. So Docker is the most popular one. If you don't know what is Docker, I highly recommend to actually learn about Docker. So another like concepts for practically very useful is like data versioning and the software versioning. So if you know like how to work with GitHub, and if you know how to work with data version control, so it's quite good skill set you can have, and you can mention it on your CV, and it's actually valuable knowledge. Yeah. Oh, so do you have any suggestion for a math student? I am struggling between continuing math and going to computer science or machine learning. So I would say it depends. I have some friends who graduated from math major, later they continued their studies in data science, and in the end they are working as a machine learning specialist. The only issue with this type of, like for math students, I think like it's mainly programming, learning how to program. If you actually learn it yourself, it might not be a problem, but in many cases, like math students, they don't program much, especially if you are applying for deep learning. uh, that might be a problem, because uh, we don't want you to just know how it works, but in the end we want people to be able to deploy their models and create a software that's manageable, and they know how to write good, clean software. So um, if you want to work in machine learning, then I would say like um, going to computer science has its merits. Um, so on the other hand, like computer science students, in many cases, they don't understand like some statistics behind like these techniques, and that's like another issue. So really hard. So yeah, I would say like you need to know both, and math and how to program. So other questions?
Well, I think the questions are over. Thank you for your talk. It was really great talk. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for having me today. So any more questions? Like so anyway, I want to like add my email. So my email, so maybe you missed it in my presentation. So you can write to my alumni email if you have any more questions. So this is my alumni email. I check it time to time. So if I don't answer you immediately, then don't worry. Like at some point I will reach you. So yeah. So I hope like you get hired in a good company after this presentation. So good luck to everyone. And of course, machine learning is very interesting field. So I hope like more people can actually start developing more interesting projects. So good luck.